So the Ice Age, we think, happened after Noah's flood, maybe a few centuries after Noah's flood, and in fact was a kind of direct consequence of Noah's flood. During the flood, there was an enormous amount of geological activity, and that geological activity, in particular what was going on the ocean floor, added a huge amount of heat to the oceans. So after the flood, the oceans were much warmer than the oceans today. So we had warm oceans. At the same time, on the continents, we had continuing volcanic activity, for example. Now, interestingly, what are the conditions you need to get an ice age started? Because it's actually not a simple matter to get an ice age started, because you need to accumulate snow year on year on year in order to build up an ice sheet. And of course, typically what happens is snowfall falls in winter. It melts during the summer season. So you somehow have to lower summer temperatures. And yet as you lower summer temperatures, the atmosphere becomes drier and less able to maintain the supply of the moisture that falls as snow. So it's very difficult to actually get an ice age going. But the flood gives us the right conditions because we have warm oceans after the flood, which means that there was a lot of evaporation of water from the surface of the ocean. So that's pumping moisture into the atmosphere. And initially after the flood, the world was very warm and very wet. But then, as the earth cools down and begins to dry out after the flood, the moisture that's being pumped into the atmosphere and falling as rain begins to fall as snow. And in fact, it falls so rapidly as snow that it no longer has the opportunity to melt during the summer season. And perhaps volcanism played a role in this, because volcanic activity can cause this kind of volcanic winter effect where it blots out light from the sun, causes summer temperatures to plummet. And we know that there was ongoing volcanism during this time. So you have the warm oceans pumping the moisture into the atmosphere, falling as snow. You have the decline in the summer temperatures. You have the ideal conditions to generate ice sheets rapidly. And creationists have sought to model the growth and development of the ice sheets. And we think that they advance within, a few hundred years of the flood. So there was a rapid advance of the ice sheets. And the ice sheets were dynamic and moving, but they very rapidly melted because as the oceans cool down by evaporation, eventually there isn't enough moisture being pumped into the atmosphere to maintain the snowfall, and eventually you get to the point where the melting outpaces the amount of snowfall and the ice sheets begin to deteriorate and the ice age comes to an end.